So welcome back to the MSBI training sessions, and today we're going to discuss about isolation levels. The last part of transactions, I can say. We spent a lot of sessions on transactions, like we discussed about parallel transactions and so on. Now let's discuss about isolation levels. Before starting the discussion about isolation levels, I just want to add a couple of things. I just want to answer to a couple of people who are adding so many comments to my videos. Let's start with the funny part of it. I have fan following in YouTube, right? People are enjoying the videos. So even though it sounds funny, but it's fact. And thanks to all the guys who are watching the videos in YouTube. And the next thing, to answer a couple of questions asked by a couple of viewers. The first question, they want videos on triggers, stored procedures, and functions. Yeah, sure, I'm gonna do that. And once this isolation levels is done, the next video will be on triggers, and the later video will be on indexes or stored procedures and functions. Everything will be covered. And the next question is people are waiting for MSBI, SSIS videos. So I can't jump from SSIS to SSIS without covering this SQL Server advanced concepts, and hence the delay. The videos will be started soon, like after completing this SQL Server advanced concepts, we are gonna surely jump into SSIS concepts. And people asked about SSRS videos pointing to MDX database, SSIS cube database. That means it's generating SSRS reports using MDX, and surely I'm gonna um, create a couple of videos on that. Why? Because it's very useful concepts. And few guys asked about dashboards in SSRS, using SSRS. There is nothing called dashboards with using SSRS. Dashboard is nothing but you can create a dashboard using .NET or any programming language with reporting tool like SSRS plus .NET or SSRS plus Java or SSRS plus SharePoint. So without the combination of front-end tool, you cannot design the dashboards, and there is nothing called dashboards using SSRS. In dashboards, you will use SSRS report. So I'll try to explain. I will try to clear the doubt in one video, and I will upload it soon. Okay, I'll work on that one. So that's it about YouTube and my videos and the queries people ask me, to which I didn't answer in YouTube. And now let's start with the isolation levels. One of the properties of transactions is isolation. If you see ACID properties, atomicity, concurrency, consistency, isolation, and durability. And if you really make the transaction isolated from the other transactions, then the availability of the data will be significantly reduced. It will be very, very poor availability of the data, because the read operations in one transaction blocked by the write operations in the other transaction. Let's say if I really make the transactions really make the transactions as isolated one. Let's say this is one transaction and this is one transaction, and these are accessing the same data. If I really make these two transactions as isolated, you know what is meant by isolated. Already we discussed about it, isolation part. So if I make this one as isolated, when this is accessing this data, for example, this particular transaction is accessing this data, then this data will not be available for this. When this transaction is reading data, I can always read the data, right, from this transaction too. But if you make these guys as isolated, then it will be a lot of problem. The data availability will be very, very poor. I mean, you won't have a good amount of data available always. Why? Because it will be blocked by other transaction. So we have isolation levels in SQL Server. If the data availability is the important issue for you guys, then the property which can be very helpful to you is isolation levels. Isolation levels, generally they specify the degree to which data being retrieved in a transaction is protected from changes to the same data by other transactions. That means, let's say if I have one transaction and if I'm trying to access it, and these isolation levels will say how up to what extent the other transaction can modify it. Why? Because another transaction is reading it. While one transaction is reading, the other transaction is modifying, then you can set some isolation level. Man, don't update until I read the data completely. Or man, I don't bother about the updations that you're doing. You continue updating, or I'll continue reading. I don't bother whether you are giving me correct data or not, whether I'm getting correct data or not. I will read whatever I get. So like that, there will be so many scenarios. So for each scenario, you can set some isolation level. There are 5 different isolation levels which is supported by SQL Server and database services. So using these isolation levels, you can make the data available for other transactions. And let's discuss about all those isolation levels one by one here. So before jumping into the discussion about isolation levels, the main advantage of isolation levels is it avoids the concurrency problems. Using these isolation levels, you can put an end to the concurrency problems. What were the concurrency problems? Like lost update, dirty reads, non-repeatable reads, and phantoms. We had one complete session on these concurrency problems. So you can avoid these kind of concurrency problems using these isolation levels. If you want to know about these concurrency problems, you just go back and browse the video in which we discussed about concurrency problems like lost update, dirty reads, and non-repeatable reads, and finally phantom reads. Now let's jump into database engine isolation levels. Actually, database engine and isolation levels, if you see under this, it supports 5 different types of isolation levels. What are those 5 different types? The first one is read uncommitted. Next one is read committed, and the third one is repeatable read, and fourth one is, I don't know the spelling of this, serializable. Yeah, I spelled it correctly. Serializable, and finally snapshot. So these are the 5 different types of isolation levels that are available in SQL Server. Now, if you see the first here, the read uncommitted, and if you see repeatable read as well as serializable, all these 3 are available in pessimistic concurrency model. I hope you guys still remember what is the definition for pessimistic. So these 3 are available only in the pessimistic concurrency model. So what is meant by pessimistic concurrency model? It will think that there may be chance of blocking, and hence it will apply locks. So read uncommitted, repeatable read, and serializable, all these 3 falls under pessimistic concurrency model, or I can say these 3 will be available only for pessimistic concurrency model. So that means whenever you are applying any one of these 3, then it will apply locks. It will be on safe side. It won't wait for the last moment to get deadlocks and all, and then it will try to resolve it. It won't try that. It will be always on pessimistic side, like there may be chance of having deadlock, so better I apply some locks. And if you see the remaining 2, the snapshot, this takes optimistic concurrency model. I can't write the spelling properly here. Just adjust. Optimistic concurrency model. And if you see the remaining one, the read committed, will fall on both pessimistic as well as optimistic. So the 3 the 3 isolation levels, read uncommitted, repeatable read, and serializable, are available only in the pessimistic concurrency model, whereas snapshot is available only in the optimistic concurrency model, but read commit is available in both optimistic as well as pessimistic concurrency models. And let's see one by one. Like, let's start with the read uncommitted and see what a particular isolation level means and how to apply the same in your SQL queries. Let me take this pen out. Yes. Okay. Now let's start with the first one, that is read uncommitted. This is the simplest one of all the isolation levels. And this provides the simplest form between two transactions. Let's say that generally these isolation levels will come into picture when two transactions are executing in parallel, and when these two are accessing the data, then these isolation levels will come into picture. Our intention, the main reason for isolation levels is when two transactions are executing in parallel, then you want, as per the properties of transactions, it should be isolated. It cannot be completely isolated. Why? Because the data availability will be very less. So this isolation level will make the balance. As you all know, the transaction properties starts with ACID, right? It has ACID properties. I means isolation. That means only when two transactions are going in parallel, then only this isolation will come into picture. So if this guy wants to be isolated, then the data that is being accessed by this guy will not be available for this guy. That is the problem, or else the isolation will be a best advantage. If this is isolated and this is isolated, then there won't be any problem, right? There won't be any problem for deadlocks and all, if these two are really isolated and executing in two different kind of blocks. The main problem comes when the data availability, when this has become completely isolated, the data availability will be very poor for this. So to avoid this, we are getting these isolation levels into picture, and now we are discussing about the first isolation level, that is read uncommitted. So between two transactions, this is the simplest form. This is the simplest isolation level that you can proceed. The name itself, you can see the name is saying read uncommitted. Whether the first transaction is committing the data or not, I don't bother. Read it. Whatever it is available, read it. So let's say the first transaction is committing, inserting some 1,000 records. Okay, observe this very carefully. I have already 1,000 records in it. Okay, in a table, and this transaction is inserting one more 1,000 records into this particular table. And if the second transaction is using read uncommitted isolation level, if this is using read uncommitted isolation level, then it won't bother whether this transaction is, until this transaction is completed. If this started executing, and it will read whatever the data that is present here. It won't bother whether it is committed or not. Okay, if it reads some data, whatever the data that is present here will be read. So this is called read uncommitted. I don't bother whether it is committed or not, and just get me the data, whatever is available in the table. It does not isolate the read operations from other transactions at all. If you see, this is the second transaction which is trying to read the data. This is not being isolated, right? It is not stopping. It is not blocking anywhere. It is not isolate the read operations. It is just allowing the second transaction to read the data. Okay. Now, if you see this example, already 1,000 records are there, and it started inserting the 1,000 records more. And if this guy started reading the data, by the time it reads the data, let's say there are 1,500 records in the particular table. Okay. Now, let's assume at the end of this transaction, this guy roll back everything. Then how many records will be there in the database, this particular table? There will be only 1,000 records. The starting point, how many records were there at the start of this transaction, the same data will be available. But if you see the output, you will have 1,500 records. The data is not consistent. This is inconsistent data. We discussed about consistency also, right? This is not consistent data. So if you observe, this read uncommitted will not do any help to you guys. It won't consider any logs that are present. It will just read the data, whatever the data that is present in the table, and get that and display. So that is this particular isolation level does not solve any of your concurrency problems except the first one, that is lost updates. Apart from that, it won't help you in reading that, in avoiding the dirty reads. in avoiding non-repeatable reads as well as in avoiding phantom reads. It won't help you in any point. This is the basic level of isolation level that people set whenever they are working on transactions. And where we use this, generally you don't need it. I mean, if you see as per that, as per this particular discussion, you don't see this is useful anywhere. The only place where we use this is in reports. At that particular point of time, whatever the data that is present in the database, just pull and show in the reports. So if that is the case for you, then you can go for read uncommitted, so that it will read whatever the data that is present in the database, and it won't bother whether there is any update log or exclusive log is available. It will just read the data and display whether it is inconsistent data or consistent data. It won't bother. It just reads even before the data is committed. That is why the name read uncommitted. Even though it is not committed, just read the data. Now, let's see the next one. For that, let me clean the board. The next one is read committed. As I already told you, read committed can be used in both pessimistic as well as optimistic concurrency models. And this is available for both. And let's discuss about the pessimistic concurrency model, how it behaves when you use this read committed in pessimistic concurrency models. Let's say you have one transaction, again a read transaction here, which reads the data from a particular table, and another transaction, let's say T2. Let's say this is T and this is B, easy to write. Okay. Now, this guy is inserting data into a particular table or updating data in a particular table. Let's say this is your table. And this guy is reading data from this table. If it is read uncommitted, what it was doing, what it will do, it will just pull the data. It won't bother about whether exclusive lock is there or on the particular table or particular row. It won't bother about anything like that. Okay, but this read committed, generally any transaction that reads a row and uses the read committed isolation level, it will check whether there is any exclusive lock is placed on the particular data or not. In this particular data, whether there is any exclusive lock or not. If any such lock is available, then the transaction will not fetch the data. Or if no such transaction, no such lock is available, then the transaction fetches the data. So that means this guy will be updating the data. While updating, generally what people will do, they'll apply exclusive lock. So this guy, if you set read committed as the isolation level for this transaction, this particular transaction, it will go and check whether there is any exclusive lock is set on the particular data or not. If it is set, then it won't fetch the data. It will fetch only the data where that exclusive lock is not set, so that it will not allow to read dirty reads. So this guy will help you in avoiding the dirty reads. It won't allow you to read the dirty data, so that you will have a consistent data in the source and destination. Once this transaction is completed and the complete thing is committed, okay, all the updates are done and the complete transaction is committed, then what will happen? Obviously, the exclusive lock will be gone. Once the exclusive lock will be gone, if you select the data, it will fetch all the data. So when there is a particular, when there is an exclusive lock and in any particular row of data, row of a table, then the transaction with isolation level read committed will not read that. It will give respect to the exclusive locks and it will not read the data, so that it will avoid the dirty reads in the select statements. So this is the major difference between read uncommitted and read committed. This waits until the commit is done and the exclusive lock is removed. And if you observe, this guy will wait until this particular exclusive lock is done, right? Once this exclusive lock is completed, once this updation is completed, then transaction 3 may update this. I'll draw it in a new page. So let's say this is your transaction 1 and this is your transaction 2, and this is trying to read data from a table, and this is updating the same table, right? This will wait until the updation is done. The exclusive lock will be set, right? The exclusive lock is removed. Then it will start reading the data. Now it has all the data. Now the third transaction can come into picture, or the same transaction again, it can insert the data or modify the data. Now, if it reads the data, it will be a different set. Why? Because it is updated by transaction 3, or the same transaction, the same transaction can update the data again and again. They can execute the same queries, right? So if you observe, this guy can help us in avoiding dirty reads, but not in repeatable read issues as well as phantom reads. So the read uncommitted is useful only for avoiding lost updates, concurrency model issue, and read committed helps us in avoiding lost updates as well as dirty reads. But still, you'll have the repeatable read issue as well as phantom reads. Okay, now let's see the repeatable read. What repeatable read will do is it places shared locks on all data that is read and holds these locks until the transaction is either committed or rolled back. It won't release the lock. It won't release the shared lock until it is the transaction is either committed or rolled back. So, for example, if you have a transaction here and if you have a transaction here and you have data here, okay. Once this is set here to this particular table, it will have a shared lock and it won't allow others to update the data, and it will maintain the same data until the transaction is committed. So let's say you have a select statement at the start of the transaction and the same select statement at the end of the transaction. It will have the shared lock in this till the end of the transaction. So the first select statement, what it will do? It will read the same data, and the last select statement also will read the same data. It won't give chance for other transactions to modify and commit the data until this particular shared lock is removed by this transaction. So you can easily say what can be avoided. In a particular transaction, if you read the data again and again, you are not gonna get different result set. You are gonna get the same result set. That's how you can avoid the repeatable read for concurrency issue here, and the only left one will be phantom reads here. If you see the phantom read still present, why? How come the phantom read still present? It will have shared lock here. This transaction will have shared lock on this data so that it will maintain the same data consistently. But when the shared lock is there, the third transaction can insert the data into the same table. So that is why the phantom reads. Phantom reads means first time it will not be available at all. It may be available in the next read, or first time it will be available but it will be deleted by the some other transaction by the next read. So phantom reads still chances of having phantom reads here in the repeatable read isolation level, and the remaining 3 concurrency issues will be solved using this repeatable read. And the fourth one is serializable, about which I don't know much, but the only point that I know about serializable is if you apply serializable, it will be executed in like a serialize. So what is meant by serializable? Parallel means both will be executing in the same way, same time, right? This transaction, this transaction. But the serializable will make the transactions to execute one after the other. It's close to that. It is not 100%. It will almost make the transactions to execute one after the other, and hence it will avoid all the isolation, even phantom reads. When it is going one by one, how can a third transaction can insert the data? Everything will be serializable. The first transaction should be completed first, after that second, after that third, after that fourth, and so on. Actually, the serializable isolation level is implemented using a different locking mechanism. It's like a key range locking mechanism. Instead of locking a particular row, what this guy will do is this guy will lock the index. You don't know about the indexes. We are yet to discuss about this. So just keep in mind, these guys acquire locks for index entries rather than locks for the particular pages or the entire table. So any modification operator of another transaction cannot be executed because the necessary changes of index entries are not possible. Let's say you don't know about indexes, right? Let's say you have a table and indexes is created on this table. So index means everything will have a unique ID. Okay. Now while reading this data, it won't allow any other transaction to insert. Why? Because it is acquiring locks on the indexes. So when the locks on indexes is done, then it cannot insert a new record into the middle of these indexes. Let me give a short description about indexes. How indexes will work is, let's say I have 10 records, 1 to 1, 10, 15, 20 and so on. Let's say my IDs are 1, 10, 15, 20. Let's say 4 I have. Now this guy will have one index, some unique ID. I don't want to give anything. Let's assume this guy will have one unique index, one unique ID, and everything will be ordered in ascending order if you have clustered index. Now if you want to try to insert a new record which is having index table, let's say the record ID is 12. What it will do is it will go and find out the place between 10 and 15 where it fits, then it will insert here and the indexing will be modified and it will be set here. So when you have locks on these indexes, then how can you modify this data? So it won't allow inserting any new records into the table or deleting the data from the table until the locking is released. So this is how the phantom reads and everything will be removed. I mean, all these concurrency related issues can be removed using the isolation level serializable. If you observe these, the first one is useless, I can say almost. The second one is a little better. Third one is too better. And the fourth one is best. The last one is will have all the it will solve all the concurrency issues, whereas the first one will have the very little problem solving or concurrency issue solving capability. But if you observe at the first level, at this level, the data availability will be very high. I mean, the other transactions can make use of the data, but this level, the other transactions can't make use of the data. Even any particular table, you can't insert the data, anything. So the data availability will be decreasing from here to top, whereas the other one, the concurrency solving issues will be increasing from here to. So if it has more concurrency issue solving capability, then it will have less data availability. This is next best in concurrency issue solving, and data availability also next best. So always remember these two are inversely proportional. When the concurrency issues are completely solved, then the data availability will be very less. When the concurrency issues are partially solved, then the data availability will be better. When the concurrency issues are not at all solved, then the data availability will be too high. And these transaction isolation levels, before going to see the examples, these transaction isolation levels can be given by using the set operator. Transaction isolation level and give the isolation level type like read committed. So the next queries or the next transaction which is going to be executed with this connection will be using read committed transaction isolation level. And let's see a couple of examples for the same, how to set the read committed transaction and what will be the impact. Okay, let's see examples here. First, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take any one table, select star from what table. I'll go for dim product. Okay, I have so many records, and here I'm updating. I'm writing a transaction. Begin transaction. I'm writing an update statement like update dim product set English product name is equal to I'll give, this is the original name. I'm taking, sorry, let me copy it again. I'm setting this name as extra test, where product key is equal to 7. Generally, if I execute this, what will happen? This guy will be, this record will be updated with the new value, that is ML crancum text. Let me execute this. I executed this and it is showing one record affected. Let me execute the same query now. You can see the value is updated to ML crancum test. Now let me take a new window. I'm taking a new window. This is where I executed the earlier query. Now I'm taking a new window and I'm gonna execute the, I'm gonna create one more transaction where I'm gonna set the transaction isolation level to read uncommitted. Okay. So first, how I have to set transaction isolation level read uncommitted, and I'm taking select star from dim product where product key is equal to 7. Now what will be the output? What I can expect here? As per the read uncommitted definition, what will be the output here? So I'm not getting any answer from you guys, so let me execute this. You can see the new value is getting. Why? Because read uncommitted. It won't bother whether the other transaction is committed or not. It won't bother about it. What it will worry is it will go and get the data. That's it. It won't bother about the whether the transaction is committed or not. Now if you go back here, roll back transaction, I'm rolling back the transaction. This is done. This is successful. And if you see the data, that this particular record is rolled back. But by the time, this is the data that will be available with the other guy. So if you observe the read uncommitted, it won't bother whether it has read or whether the other transaction is committed the changes or not. It will read the data that is present as per the that is present in the database. Now if I execute again, it will go and read the fresh data. That's it. It won't bother about the whether the changes is done or not, whether it is updated properly or not. Now I'm executing the same thing again. Let me execute it. Begin transaction, update product, set English product name is equal to ML crancum test, where product ID is equal to 7, and you can see the same data that is present in the table. Now I'm not going for uncommitted, I'm going for committed transaction. So set transaction isolation level as read committed and select the data. Select star from dim product where product key is equal to 7. So it is taking time to execute. Let it take. So if you wait for so long, it will be the same case. It won't read the data until you commit the same transaction or roll back the transaction. So let me commit the transaction here. So as I said, if you see, it won't read the data. Why? Because an exclusive lock is set on the second record, on the second transaction, on the particular table. So it won't read that particular data. Why? Because it is locked by another transaction, right? If you observe, when I commit the transaction, immediately the next second it read the data. Now let me do one thing. I'm taking this one out and I'm updating the transaction. I'm creating the transaction again. Fine. It is not yet committed. So if I execute this, it will be running. Why? Because an exclusive lock is set, and this guy will wait until it either commits or rollbacks. So the read commit, generally if you go for this in any reporting part, then you are gone. When the other guy is updating the data on the other side, then it will wait until the data is completely committed. So if you go here, if you observe it, and if I commit it, it will become ML cranktrum, the output of this particular query. And if I don't commit, if I roll back this, then it will be ML cranktrum test, the output of this particular select statement. So if you see, if you observe, it is already 40 seconds gone, still it is reading the data. Why? Because the lock is set on the other side. And sp underscore who2 will give you a little bit of information about the same. Let's see whether, see, this is suspended, a select statement. It is suspended because of some other, that is 55, runnable. So there will be some blocks occurred because of this transaction isolation level we set, and that this particular transaction is not committed, and this is trying to read the data using the transaction level read committed. That is why if you see, it is 1 minute 22 seconds, 24 seconds. If I commit it, then immediately it will get the data. Right? This is the advantage. Read committed will not read you dirty data. If another side, if it is updating, and here you won't get that. You won't get the updated one until it is committed or until it is rolled back. That is the advantage of these particular isolation level. That is read committed. It will make sure that no exclusive locks is set on the other transaction which is blocking this, or which is executing in parallel with the same, with this transaction to read the data from the same resource. Okay, this is about read uncommitted and read committed transactions, and in next session we will see about the remaining two transaction examples for remaining two transactions, and we will jump into the optimistic concurrency models, that is snapshot as well as repeatable read snapshot. We will discuss about this, and we will jump into the triggered concept. Thank you guys.